It's nice to be here tonight to share with you. We're asked two questions every place we go. Why do you do this, and why is this different than anything else? And those are both fair questions. We do it because of the stories you just heard. We started this to help my wife get her health back. We were not intending to share this. I coached football 40 years. My background is health education and chemistry. And I wondered in 1949 why I took 25 hours of chemistry, and I found out in the 70s when I started this study, because without that background, I don't know if this would have been possible or not. But we do it to help people. Now, someone asked me after 14 weeks, after I lost 14 pounds in 6 weeks, somebody said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I found something that burns fat and builds lean muscle. I really don't understand it." But we have not stopped since then. It's ongoing. We're busy almost every night because the product works and people come back. And why is this different than anything else? Through my studies, when I started in 1973, through my studies, I found that the body can only break down and metabolize whole food. When God put the plant on the earth, the roots went into the soil and took the minerals from the ground and put them together in a type of bonding called covalent bonding that the body can separate rather easily. It's the sharing of electrons. And so only the plant is designed to feed and nourish the body correctly. When man puts something together, it's ionic bonding. It's the giving up of electron. It sticks together like two magnets. And when you take vitamins or minerals, if your urines are bright yellow, they've given you an overdose. Your body's been able to use a little bit of it, and the liver, causing enlarged liver and kidney to get rid of that overdose, and that's what the color comes from. And so we began searching for whole foods in 1975, and the first 3 books I read on this study took me down an entirely different path. Have you ever done that? Mark Twain said, "Beware of what you read in a health book. You may die because of a misprint." There's all kind of information, and I didn't want to know, should I eat more of this or more of that? I want to know how it affected my body at the cellular level. And so through 17 years of study and reading, I found some common threads that I'm going to talk about tonight. And Sunrider is a whole food. These stories, Sunrider's not the miracle. Your body's the miracle. Sunrider is the only food that supports your body. And that's what you're looking for, is support. And your body can maintain its balance if you feed it correctly. Let me turn on my... In the year 431, Hippocrates said, "Food should be our medicine and medicine should be our food." I wonder what he would think of what we call food today. And what most people call food is not food. A food is made up of 5 parts, and this is extremely important. It's not a food unless it has all 5 parts. Amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, vitamin, and mineral make up a food, and they have to be balanced in the body. If you take only minerals, you're taking an isolate. And when you put those minerals in your body, it has to pull the other 4 from your tissue to balance for the body to use it in that ratio. You have to have minerals. Too many minerals are toxic to the body. Too few and your body will not function. We have an attorney in Houston. His paramedic walked in his office one day and he reached his hand out to shake hands, and she said, "Let me see your hand." He held it out. He said, "No, the other side." His fingernails were turning black. She called the hospital immediately and said, "Normally when that happens within 3 or 4 days, you have a serious problem." They did a blood test, and every mineral was negative, way off the scale. He said it felt like someone was driving a spike through my chest. And he just had a mineral depletion, and he was dying. But too many minerals will disrupt the other factors in your body. You have to have vitamins, and your body will not function without vitamins. But too many of one vitamin will destroy another vitamin, but you need a balance. Your vitamins will not work unless you have a balance of amino acids, glucose, and fatty acids. They're worthless without the balance over here. I can guarantee you with a protein diet that you will lose weight, and you will pull a lot of weight. Your brain is fed on glucose. 67% of the glucose that goes in your body is required to feed your brain. If you go on a high protein diet and a low carbohydrate diet, your body will cannibalize muscle tissue after one day and start removing the nitrogen from the muscle tissue. It's made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Glucose is made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and so is fat. But if you go on a high-protein diet, it will cannibalize muscle tissue, and you lose weight because you lose muscle tissue, which has a higher density than fat. You will rebound. I've known of people that have lost 40 to 50 pounds on a protein diet, and within a year they weigh more than when they started. You can only get fat out of your body by burning in a muscle cell. If you destroy your muscle tissue that is necessary to burn the fat, then you don't have any place for the fat to go, and it starts to accumulate in your body, and water starts being retained. So you have to have protein. As I look at you, if I am seeing you in 6 weeks, every molecule in your face has been totally replaced, and it's protein. You have to have protein to build your antibodies. You have to have protein to build your cell wall. You have to have protein to build your enzymes and hormones in your body. But you don't have to have much protein. The body will recycle, break them down, and use them again. You have to have glucose. Your muscles use glucose for energy. Your brain uses glucose for energy. For ATP, the energy be developed in your body, it takes oxygen and glucose to produce the ATP, which drives the sodium-potassium pump. You have to have an imbalance. You have to have fatty acids. The fats that are dangerous to the body come from anything that walks, swims, crawls, or flies. Or anything that has a face, some people say. Only animals have cholesterol. Plants do not have cholesterol. And so if you have a cholesterol problem, you need to check what you stuff in that hole right under your nose right here. That's yours, and you control it. Some people don't control it. I don't know who controls it, but it's what you put in your body. We had one gentleman went on these foods. His cholesterol dropped from 305 to 104 in 4 weeks. He didn't go on these foods to lower his cholesterol, but he changed his diet and put the right thing in his body, and his body came into balance. In fact, his skin totally changed. And that's one of the first things that will happen when you eat the Sunrider foods is the skin will change because you clean up the inside of the body. It shows on the outside of the body. Your adrenal glands produce hormones from cholesterol. There's 30 different steroids produced by your adrenal glands if you have the right balance of fatty acids. You have to have fatty acids for your body to function. So when I talk about a food tonight, every time I say food, think of these 5 things. Your body only recognizes the amino acids, the glucose, the fatty acids, the vitamins, and minerals. Everything you put in your mouth should metabolize or burn in the body for it to be used. If it can't be burned, it can't be used. Hydrogenated oil or partially hydrogenated oil, the body cannot break down unless it gets to a temperature of about 300 degrees. And that'll take care of all your problems if it breaks it down. So it's detrimental to your blood. It can't break it down so it can be used. And it will cause the body to retain fluid. Most Americans are not fat, they're fluffy. Your body can retain up to 90 pounds of excess fluid according to Guyton's medical physiology textbook. The stomach alone can retain 21 liters. That's about 5 gallons in extreme cases. But how do you get rid of it? We had a lady in Kansas City lost 47 pounds in 4 weeks. You can only lose 2 pounds of fat a month at the most. How did she lose 47 pounds? She pulled that water weight off. She ate one small piece of ham and gained 4 pounds. Took 4 days to get it off. She ate one turkey sandwich with barbecue and gained 6 pounds. It took 5 to 6 days to get it off, and now she knows she's now lost 65 pounds and no loose skin. We have a lady in our group that had cancer in the 80s. She had reoccurring cancer in the brain, and it was breast cancer to start with, and it came back in bone cancer and tumors in the head. She started on the Sunrider foods, and she weighed 179. In her first radical mastectomy, they took a skin graft from her tummy to rebuild the right breast. And the doctor said, if you ever lose weight, we'll have to redo that because the skin will not shrink to fit the contour of your body. She's dropped from 179 to 129 with no loose skin. The cancer doctors totally released her. And so she nourished her body back to health. And the Sunrider foods didn't do it. They only support the body. And all your body wants is for you to put the right thing in, and the same intelligence is there that put you together in your mother's womb. How many women had babies and had to build a head one day and the foot the next day and the hand the next day? We'd have all kind of babies coming out, wouldn't we? There's an intelligence that put that together, and that same intelligence is still with you, and all it wants is you put the right food in, and it will keep you healthy and reorganize your body. At 67 years old, I have more energy than when I was 35, and that's neat. If you get to my age and you have your health, it's the best time of your life. Most people spend their health to make their wealth, then they spend their wealth to try to get back their health. And you can take care of that journey yourself if you'll just apply some basic principles. And it ain't bad. For the first week or so, taste buds really complain. Well, I mean, they fuss, and you wonder who's in charge of this body. But when I talk about food, Hippocrates would like what I say tonight, but what a lot of people call food, he wouldn't care for that. Your body should flow like a river. You have a new skin every 5 weeks. You have a new skeleton every 3 months. You have new gums every 1 to 2 weeks. You can regenerate your liver in 8 weeks. You can cut off 2/3 your liver and it will grow back and regenerate to fill that space. You have a new lining to your stomach and intestines every 4 or 5 days. 1 year from now, 98% of your body will be totally replaced. It takes about 2 years to rebuild your colon, regenerate your colons and your tendons and ligaments, the tougher parts of your body. Deepak Chopra said if that river runs fresh, it should be a quick interchange. The food should go in, should be disassembled, go through into the body, be used, and each day roughly 500 billion to 800 billion cells die. That's a big number, isn't it? You not only have to get that waste from your body, but you need the right material to rebuild a house. I could take this house apart. No, I couldn't. But if we could take this house apart and put every component out in the yard that made up this house, would it still be a house? It has everything the house needs, but it wouldn't be a house, would it? There has to be a synergy. And your body takes that material and keeps the synergy and keeps you looking the same. And so as I talk tonight, I'm going to talk about how do you maintain cleaning up that river. And that's the most difficult part of this journey, is cleansing the body, removing the waste, and getting it out of your body. The secret to health. And there's roughly 100 trillion cells in the body. That's a big number in it. I don't know who counts those things. They say there's 10,000 part calcium outside the cell to 1 part inside. There's 10 trillion cells. But for a cell to function, and this is very important, for a cell to function properly, it needs a balance of potassium and sodium. That's referred to as a K factor. At the end of this day, you should have eaten 4 times more potassium than sodium by weight. Dr. Patrick Quillen, in his book Cancer and Nutrition, said the average American needs 4 times more sodium than potassium. And I've read that in a lot of books. I got most of my information from a book written in 1986 by Dr. Richard Moore after 30 years of research. And this basically was new material and how it functions within the body in his book called the K factor. Potassium, 95% should be inside the cell and the sodium should be outside the cell. If it's balanced properly, it will rotate 300 times a second. Can you imagine 100 trillion cells, that much movement, 300 times a second? We're wonderfully made. If it's functioning properly, this is referred to as a sodium pump. It produces little less than 1/10 volt of electricity per cell. If you have 100 trillion cells, with each with about a 1/10 volt of electricity, you have tremendous energy. If this energy, this battery, is just like your car, if you go out and turn the key and the battery's dead, you have to get a jump start. If your cells, this starts shutting down, then you get a jump start. You take a drug, and the doctors do an exceptionally good job. They know what drug your body needs, and they can give you that drug. But you don't have to go get that drug if you'll take care of the problems to start with. This is a voltage gate. It's run by the battery. This controls calcium. If calcium leaks back into this cell, it totally disrupts the cell. It causes muscle spasms. It can cause brain cells to be damaged. It can destroy the frontal lobe. NutraSweet is one of those that the aspartame affects the calcium gate. There's a neat book on the market by Dr. Richard Blaylock on Excito for excited toxins and how glutamate, aspartame, and hydrolyzed vegetables can destroy the frontal lobe and probably cause Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and ALS, and seizures. And he's a neurosurgeon, and he just wrote the book. His dad died with Parkinson disease, so he started a research on it, and it's a neat book if you want to see how those affect the calcium gate and destroy brain cells and nerve cells. But every time I bend my arm, calcium has to leak in the muscles and the muscle that I want to flex. When calcium leaks in, the muscle contracts. The only thing a muscle can do is contract and release. That's the only thing it can do. If calcium leaks in, it contracts. If you want to release it, you should force the calcium out, and it will release. If I do this, how many adjustments did my body make for me to do this? Calcium had to go in and out at the right time. It's amazing. Roughly 6 trillion reactions a second in your body if you're balanced. That's a big number too, isn't it? This is an amino acid gate. This is a voltage gate. These little dots in here are factories. They're called ribosomes. They collect amino acids and make enzymes and hormones. You do not have to take a digestive enzyme. Your body will produce it if you can pump the amino acids into the factory. If you're making brick and you can't get the right material in, you don't come out with brick, do you? People can't digest their food, the sodium pump starts shutting down, the voltage gate starts shutting down, and your body cannot produce it. The DNA can't tell that ribosome, hey, give me some digestive enzymes to get this guy's putting all kind of junk in, let's kick it out of there. But you're not eating right to balance that. And this is an acid gate. It pumps the waste from the cell. Now these are all controlled by the sodium-potassium balance. Where do you get your sodium-potassium? Every natural food God put on the face of the earth that's edible and doesn't make you sick is high in potassium, low in sodium. You think that happened by accident? Now lentils are 900 part potassium, 1 part sodium. Daniel ate lentils, and he outperformed the king's men. A potato is 600 to 4, bananas 400 to 4. The lowest natural food I can find is a plum. It's 155 to 4. If you ate only natural foods, you wouldn't have a problem with sodium potassium, and your body would function properly. Every fast, processed, and canned food, you ever heard of those? Have reversed the sodium-potassium balance. A hamburger, and it doesn't make any difference which fast food chain you go to, has roughly 540 parts sodium and 120 part potassium. What have they done to that? Frozen dinners have roughly 2,200 parts sodium, 100 part potassium. If you live on fast, processed, or canned foods and sugar and salt and pop, within 30 years you will have a chronic degenerative disease. Healthcare in America would be about $10 a month if we all ate properly instead of $450 a month or more. I had a little accident about a month ago. I was doing something a little bit silly on my roller blades and had 6 staples put in my head. And we didn't get the bill to the right place, and I called my health insurance today, and they said, well, you've never made a claim. I said, well, I was sick in 1936. I said, were you around then? We don't have a doctor. We don't have colds. We don't have flus because we feed our body right and we keep a balance within our body. We keep insurance just in case I get on rollerblades. But I broke a leg 5 years ago sailing a catamaran. I strapped myself in so if it turned over, I wouldn't slide off, and it turned over and I snapped my leg. But that's the only reason we need it. We're drug-free at 67, and Lois is I don't know if you're older or younger, I can't remember. But we're drug-free at our age, and that's neat because this is one of the things that we watch. A green olive is 2,000 parts sodium, 50 part potassium. You need a balance at the end of the day. If you'll eat 1 green olive and 10 bananas, you'll be all right. If you eat 2 green olives, you'll probably be full if you're trying to balance it out. Sort of silly, isn't it? But can you see why we have so many problems? Pop is one of the worst things you can put in your body. The phosphoric acid is worse than the salt and the sugar and the caffeine. 1 can of pop, it takes about 30 glasses of water to neutralize the phosphoric acid. It's the acid that causes the retention of fluid in your body when you eat the foods. Dr. Alex Krell in 1912 received a Nobel Prize for the study of the longevity of a cell. 4 things affect the longevity of a cell. Lack of oxygen at the cellular level. A lot of times when you're tired, all you need to do is breathe deep and get oxygen in your body. You've got to have oxygen to metabolize whatever metabolizes. Polluted food, polluted water, and too much acid in the body. And I read this in 1974, and I said, what's too much acid in the body? That was new to me. And so my search began in a new direction. And he said, if acid will destroy stainless steel, what will it do to your tissue? When you eat acid foods, your body, if you spill sulfuric acid on your hand, you immediately pour water on it to neutralize the acid. Your blood pH has to stay 7.4 for you to be healthy. If it varies up or down, you've got a problem one way or the other. The liver controls the acid. If you keep eating acid foods, which I'll cover in just a few minutes, the liver, instead of putting it in your blood, will dump it in your tissue. You can drop your tissue pH to about 4.5 before you die, and then it's terrible. Then as you dump that acid in your body, then the body starts filling up with fluids. So the way we eat, there's a little handout. Did you get the handouts tonight? On the back page, there's acid-alkaline foods. The foods on the top of this list are higher in potassium, calcium, magnesium, the electrolytes that feed the cell properly. The foods in the big square on the bottom are higher in phosphorus and sulfur. Phosphoric acid and sulfuric acid need to be neutralized if you eat them in excess when they metabolize in the body. The lady ate 1 piece of ham and gained 4 pounds. We ate at a local restaurant here and had minestrone soup and a salad, and I gained 4 pounds that one meal because of sodium in that food. Now my body will kick it out fast, but had I been already fluffy and already had a lot of acid in my body, then you just add a little more fluff to it and you don't even notice it, and all at once your clothes keep getting tighter and tighter, and all at once the large pants or the small pants. Do you ever go through that? And then you say, what do I do? And so you go on a diet, and a lot of the diets have acid foods. They try to please your taste buds. And what I want to talk about tonight, I want to talk about the ideal way. Now you can do any kind of transition you want to with this. And we've had people, one lady went from a size 14 dress to size 8 and only lost 5 pounds. She then dropped from 159 to 154, then to 114. But she started building muscle. She had been on diets and lost muscle tissue. You got to rebuild the muscle tissue first and be healthy on the inside, then the weight comes off. You cannot lose weight unless you're healthy. Fat is malnutrition, disease is malnutrition. Your body will produce every drug that you need, that you can get at the pharmacy if you're healthy. There's a little chemical factory in there that will produce it if you're healthy. It'll produce morphine 500 times stronger when you get off the street. It'll produce interleukin-2. It'll produce every steroid from your adrenal glands. We had one lady with a total hysterectomy, no ovaries, and her body's now producing estrogen. She's under the doctor's care. And he said, well, let's at least stay on 0.03 because you don't have ovaries. It took her 2 years for her body to come into that balance. She wore a size 12. She only ate these foods to lose weight, and I said, don't eat these foods to lose weight. Eat these foods to become healthy. Once you're healthy, your body will seek its own natural lean fat ratio, and skin will just totally change. Everyone, we have about 1,500 stories. We've got some unbelievable stories. Every one of them have lost weight except 2 or 3, and they were so skinny they had to gain weight. They ate the same foods to gain weight. Everybody else lost weight. Now that's pure nutrition, isn't it? That's what's amazing about this. But eat these foods to become healthy. And when you're healthy, the weight will balance. My lean fat ratio, I've been the same weight now since June of 1990. And I weigh the same as I did in college. Lois weighs the same as she did when we got married at 43 years ago. And when I weighed 176, I said there's no way I could ever get back to 155. 145 is what I weigh now. And I was really surprised when I started eating these foods. It kept going down, 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 and all at once I hit this and just stopped. So this is my lean fat ratio. If I want more muscle, I'd have to work at it. If I wanted to pump weights, I could build muscle again, but it's not as important at 67 as it was at 37. That's a different ball game now. And so this is how we eat. We recommend if you want to really lose weight and become healthy faster, stay with the alkaline foods. It balances the cell. The more acid foods you eat, the slower the journey will be. That's a choice. You can do it any way you want to. We have given up salt and sugar, all meats. I'm not a vegetarian. I just don't eat meat. There's a difference. Some people, there's animal rights, there's all these other kind of rights. I found out my rights. By all rights, I feel better and perform much longer without it. Carl Lewis was a vegetarian. Probably still is. Edwin Moses is a vegetarian. He won every hurdle race for 3 Olympics. David Scott, the 6-man triathlete, has won it 6 times, is a vegetarian. I saw my first vegetarian athlete when I was coaching at K-State, and I couldn't believe how he was put together. I was raised on chicken fried steaks and hot dogs, and I thought you had to have those. But I found out you don't have to have those, that they really make a difference in your life. We've given up all dairy products. An animal's protein, the DNA has too much protein for a human. If you want to gain weight, drink milk. The mother's milk is a perfect balance. There's far more protein in dairy products to raise an animal to 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. We've given up hydrogenated oil. And those are the foods that we have really given up. Sugar is deadly to the body. It's as addictive almost as cocaine. If you don't believe me, try to take your children off of sugar. This is a cancer cell. This came from the biology textbook. This is a live shot of a cancer cell. Ugly looking thing, isn't it? These are killer T cells lurking by here waiting for the right command to go attack them. This is a killer T cell made from the thymus gland. All of our white and red cells are made in the bone marrow, and they ship part of them to the thymus, and they make killer T cells and helper T cells. This was a cancer cell. The killer T cell patrols your body and seeks out cancer cells. It's a cancer patrol. All it had to do was punch in a security code and blow the flesh off the cancer cell. Amazing, isn't it? Medical physiology textbook said all cancer is from a mutation of a cell. Something not getting into the DNA. DNA regenerates in 8 hours. It's made from amino acids. It has 2 enzymes that checks the DNA to make sure it's twisted just right and perfect. If it's not, it will splice it, twist it, and fix it perfect. Because billions of cells are reproduced each day, some slip by that first checkpoint. The next checkpoint is the security code within that cell. If it's not perfect, it's supposed to blow up, explode itself. Some slip by that, very few. But if they slip by those 2 checkpoints, this is the 3rd checkpoint. 6 teaspoons of sugar lowers your immune system 25% for 12 hours. 25 teaspoons of sugar lowers your immune system 95% for 12 hours. Can you see why children have to take so many antibiotics? Why we have so much cancer? 1 out of 2 people are supposed to have cancer by the year 2000. And the way we're going, I hope it reverses. And we have several people that have reversed cancer, and they give up all sugar and all animal protein. A study from Cornell University, Oxford University, Dr. Neil Bernard from UCLA Medical School, Dean Ornish, yes, is that right? I believe it is. Said their booklet they put out said all even small intakes of animal protein can cause chronic degenerative diseases. It's a urea nitrogen after it metabolizes. It's not the protein or the fat. It is a protein because urea nitrogen is a waste product from metabolism of protein. In that same little booklet, it said meat products, animal protein cause cancer tumors to grow. Plant protein causes cancer tumors to shrink. we had a gentleman come to our house 3 years ago, and he just had a CAT scan in St. Francis, and he had cancer throughout his entire skeleton system. As we sat and talked, we just suggested if you eat these foods, you need to give up the sugar and the animal protein. Within 5 months, he had another CAT scan, no cancer. He had prostate cancer and bone cancer. Still lives here in Tulsa. He was very fluffy when he walked into our house, and I'll cover fluff in just a little while. Now his skin's tight at 67, and he's an entirely different man. And he fussed. We had a lady in Owassa that lives on a farm, and she had a CAT scan, and her bone density was 77, 110 is low. As we talked to her, I said, you need to give up, I suggested that she give up meat and dairy. And she lived on a farm, and she fussed at me, and she still fusses. But a year later, she had another CAT scan, and her bone density was 119. The first thing she did was call her doctor and say, would you make sure that was my body? Maybe you picked up the wrong x-ray. But she still eats the foods and still fusses. But it's how that that's the way it affects the body. Now, it's a choice. How many people smoke knowing that it's going to cause a problem, but they choose to live that way? This is the choice. But a lot of people are searching for a way to find health, and they don't know how to approach it. A lot of people are willing to give up certain things if they know what they will do to the body. And that's basically why we do this. And I've got a stack of books about this high. If anybody wants references, they want books. Everything I say, I can show you in print someplace. I just read 3 new books last week. And it's getting in the way of my golf, so I don't know which is going. Maybe I've read enough books. This is a macrophage. This is the other part of the immune system. This goes through the body and picks up bacteria. This is picking up a double bacteria out of the body. It will pick up this bacteria. Macrophage means giant eater. It'll pick up this bacteria and regurgitate out on the outside shell. A helper T cell will come along and check, see what it regurgitates. If it's foreign to the body and needs to be out, it will drop a chemical in the blood that will go to a B cell, and a B cell can produce hundreds of millions of new antibodies an hour. It can mutate faster than a bacteria can mutate. This comes from a book written by Dr. Clark, an immunologist. He's the guru of the immunologists from UCLA. It's At War Within. It's a great book if you want to read about the defense mechanism and how it functions. This is also affected by sugars, by chemicals, by anything that goes in the body. Dr. John McDougall was here in Tulsa not too long ago talking about vegetarian diet, an MD. He said if you eat hamburger, you double your chance for cancer, because if you cook meat over 125 degrees, it cannot disassemble the protein back into amino acids. Your body does not want protein, it wants amino acids. The cow got its protein from eating amino acids from the grass and made its own protein in the cell. So when you eat the meat, it has to be disassembled. If it stays a polypeptide and does not break down amino acid, it can leak back in the blood, and these attacked it as a foreign entity. These are the little culprits that cause problems with autoimmune disease. They start destroying your own body. You turn them on, they keep attacking and attacking and attacking, and all at once they just start attacking your own body. Lupus, connective tissue, rheumatoid arthritis, a covering on the bone sheath. MS is the sheath off of the nerve. And so these can cause a lot of problems if you do not just take care of it. But if your child has to have an antibiotic, that means these are destroyed in the body from something. And antibiotics can help destroy those too, but that's why we don't eat the sugar. And I can tell you a lot of other reasons. Sugar forces calcium out of the kidneys, meat forces calcium out of the kidneys, potassium forces calcium out of the kidneys. You need 10-part calcium to 4-part phosphorus in your blood. Parathyroid check the blood constantly. If you have low calcium, they'll pull it out of your bones to balance your blood. And that's what causes osteoporosis. Dr. John McDougall says 80% of the osteoporosis is in countries that eat meat and dairy. And we're bombarded constantly by the television why you should have those products. And so it's a choice, and you need to decide and do some research and reading. Women have many more health challenges than men. As we've done this all over the country, it's really been interesting. I asked people, how many have fibromyalgia? And it seems like some groups, there's half of them raise their hand. Fibromyalgia is a blanket covered. They don't really know what's wrong. It's a degenerative muscle fiber. And most women lose their health after their first child. Some after their second child. The placenta is an extension of the liver that feeds the womb. It's a reservoir for vitamins and minerals. You have a baby, you lose the placenta, and you go to junk food, fast food, processed food, and do not rebalance the chemical electrolytes in your body, and you never get your health back. And most men would get rid of mood swings if they just feed their women the right food and get the hormonal balance back. But it's amazing. Men do not get excited about their health about 48 hours before they die. Then they say, fix me up right quick and put me back out there on the road so I can go again. But it's a choice that you make. And if you can balance the electrolytes, you balance the chemicals in your body functions. I mean, it's amazing. In Sunrider, this is a food. Everything in Sunrider, not everything, but the things I want to talk about tonight are a food. This is a whole food. This is 65% carbohydrate, 23% protein, and 12% fatty acid. It's balanced. It's balanced to feed the pancreas properly. It's balanced protein and carbohydrates, so you release glucagon and your liver controls your blood sugar. It has every vitamin and mineral intertwined in these foods. These are Chinese herbs. The Chinese, thousands of years ago, combed the mountainside and found the herbs that were edible. They eliminated the herbs that are poisonous and medicinal. These are herbs to regenerate the body. To the Chinese, anytime you're sick or you're fat, you have not been eating properly, so they would go out and get the herbs, and they have to cook them. It takes 5 days to prepare this. They have to cook it, and you do not eat the herbs. You throw the herbs away and drink the liquid. Your body cannot digest herbs. If it's not an extract, your body cannot digest it because it cannot separate the nutrients from the fibers. They're bound too tight. Tei-Fu Chen, the owner of Sunrider, is the only one that knows how to convert that liquid into a powder. He has a little over 2-story steel pans that he does it in. We've been to the company. We've been through the factory. He puts his herbs together in 3 different facilities because no one knows how he does it. And he doesn't want the one in his facility to know totally how to do it. And so he goes to 3 different places. And he and his family are the only one. This company now is in 28 countries. They sell $800 million worth of herbs a year and growing at a rapid pace. They went into China 4 years ago, and this thing has exploded. He's had to build 3 factories in China. They will not let him import. These come from Torrance, California. The herbs are grown in China and Taiwan, shipped to Torrance, put together, then they go back over the world. They just went into Russia, and it's exploding in Russia. It's going into India. It's going into South America. He said, I will be in every country in the world. 2 people on this entire operation. But it's an incredible product. Tei-Fu Chen is a genius. I mean, the way he put this together is just incredible. This is herbs. You can put it in your mouth dry, but it needs to be hydrated. I put mine in water. From day one, I wanted to know what these herbs would do for my body, not what apple juice or orange juice. Taste was not a factor. I bought these from a guy I didn't know, for a product I never heard of, because it said live food, and a food is those 5 component parts. Properly combined, one plant cannot nourish the entire body. One drum or one trombone does not make an orchestra. It takes a collection of many instruments to get a beautiful synergy. It takes a collection of plants to get a synergy to feed the body correctly. And it's all in this. We've had people live on this. One lady in Kansas City, we were staying in her home last March. In 3 months, she had lost 63 pounds, bought a new Cadillac convertible, and has a new lifestyle. But she lived basically on this food. It will nourish the body. It's just, it ain't our lifestyle to just take this. What do you do when people come to town? The first thing you do is try to decide what are we going to eat, or where are we going to eat? And that's a sort of a, that's our culture. It's almost a ritual to sit down and eat. So you can eat, but you can eat all you want off that top. Lois and I started changing our diet in 1975. We did not tell anyone in our family Lois had a problem. Wasn't anyone else's business. We would hear people say, I wonder what kind of crazy diet the Emersons are on now. We were always eliminating. We're trying to find a way to bring the body back to balance. But this is called Nutrient Plus, Nu Plus. Lois this morning put it in a banana and strawberry and water, and it really tastes good. It tastes like almost, I can't remember for sure, but it tastes something like a Brahms milkshake. It's been so long since I had one. But it's, you can put it in, I put it in water, and I eat about 12 of these a day. We've had people, Ruby came to our home 80 years old, and she could not raise her arms. Her SED rate was 60, 10 to 20 is normal. She had so much pain, her husband had to dress her. He had to carry her wherever she went. She sat down in a chair and said, I'm going to stay a few minutes. My pain is so great. She stayed for 2 hours after she started listening because she'd been eating correctly for 17 years trying to get her health back. In 3 months, we'd say, Ruby, don't run. Day before yesterday, she climbed an apple tree, 80 years old. And Banjo, our friend that came over in Thanksgiving, 6 feet tall, 100 pounds, and they told her she'd probably be dead time she's 30, she's 20. She wore a size 10 jean because of the deformity of her bones, was helping her. And she had been in pain for 4 years, and she had a stack of poems on her pain and what she was trying to endure. She said, I never planned past one day because I didn't know if I'd make it the next day. 20 hours, her body changed. This is pre-digested. I thought maybe that meant the Chinese chewed it before they sent it over. I didn't know what that meant. It's pre-digested in that it's cooked just right, and you get the liquid out from this, and then he makes it into a powder. And so this is amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, and all vitamins and minerals. I found this in 1981, medical physiology textbook. Dr. Guyton said the human body can retain up to 90 pounds of excess fluid. Dr. Clark in At War Within said it because of faulty plumbing. This is a closed system. This is a blood vessel, and this is a lymphatic duct. And this is a very important part of the journey to cleanse the body, that you understand this. This lymphatic duct is a garbage route. Did you know you had 2.25 million miles of lymphatic duct in your body that pick up the waste material and pump it back in and drop it in the blood right up here? The food that goes in the small intestine into the body is picked up by this and carried back up and dumped in. The others go to the colon. After it comes back in the blood, it goes down to the liver, and the liver, it recycles part of it and makes bile out of it. Our body's pretty efficient. The other rest it'll send down to the colon, the fibers will absorb it, and when it absorbs it, it goes out the back door. And that should be done regularly if the river flows like it's supposed to flow. This is a healthy tissue. This is a dry state. This is your lean-fat ratio, the way it should look. This is about 30 years later when you start collecting fluid from the acid foods, from the albumin that leaks out into this. And women, it starts collecting on the back of their legs. That's referred to as hail damage. Men, it starts collecting right here, and they call it love handles, and it becomes Dunlap disease. It Dunlaps over the belt. We had a gentleman lose 37 pounds the first month. He lost 48 pounds in 2 months, and I said, John, your water broke. Literally, that's what really happened. Jana, get your name right. Jana went from a size 8 to size 2, and she looked good. It wasn't a pooling out in any one place. It'll normally pool out around the sinus areas, around the lungs and the stomach, or around the joints. Hers was a light fluff all over the body. She went from a size 8 to size 2. And she had not been under 126 since 12, 13 years old. And weighed 132 at the time. And she thought she looked good, and she did. But it was that light fluid. What would it have been like 30 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 10 years from now? It keeps collecting in the body. Albumin is a blood protein made by the liver. There's 3 blood proteins, and albumin's a big-time player in this. When you put 1 pound of fat on your body has to build 8 miles of capillary to service that 1 pound of fat. Can you imagine 1 pound of fat? How small would that 8 miles of capillary be? It'd be tiny, wouldn't it? All nutrition that goes in the body, that goes to the cell, has to go through a capillary. So think how small you have to break down the food you eat. That big sirloin steak has to be broken down into little bitty tiny things, almost microscopic, so it can go through a capillary to go down the tissue. All the nutrition and oxygen is carried by the capillary and diffuses out and bathes the cell, and albumin maintains the pressure, and it'll pull that fluid back, and it'll pull carbon dioxide with it. Because of faulty plumbing, sometimes any kind of stress can cause a dilation of the capillary, and albumin can leak out into the tissue. Now the body's designed, if it does leak out, it should be squeezed like squeezing a sponge and drop it back down the lymphatic duct. And where does the lymphatic duct take it? That's on the test tonight. You're going to have to. It drops it back in the blood. It's back where it's supposed to be. If it collects in here and you do not move it out, it starts collecting fluid. That's its job, is to collect fluid. And fluid starts collecting. Then mucus starts to form. And then you have a gelatin-like substance. On 2020, about a month ago, it talked about pulling the liquid fat from the body. Did anybody see that? And they said it'll come back. I had a friend, they pulled 37 pounds out of his body and said, you can't believe the stink when they pull that out. He had a 5 bypass. But they also, he said, when I pick up a bottle, I can't move my fingers. I can't let go. They pull the potassium. And now then you can't control, so the doctor gives you potassium, and they do a good job. They balance your body. And you have to, he's in control of your body instead of you being in control. You can pull this off with Cali. That's what's unique about this program. Cali pulls the metabolic waste. And that's why we go with most women 1 bag per gallon. It'll break it down too fast. Did you ever drive on the BA Expressway when there's ice on the road and everything backs up and you can't get on, and the on-ramps are off the on-ramps? Well, if you break this down too fast, it backs up into the lymphatic duct and starts pooling out, and you think, oh, I've got the flu. Or something's going wrong in my body, or it can't move it out, so it'll push it through the skin. When we started this, we drank Cali 1 bag per cup because it's a tea bag. What do you do with tea in America? We got no instruction with this, so we made a bag per cup. We detoxified so fast. We didn't question whether it worked or not. We questioned, could we endure? Mucus was coming out of every place. And so we finally figured out that you should go at least 1 bag per quart. And now we found that most people should start 1 bag per gallon if you're fluffy, or if you're very sick. If you have Candida albicans, or you really have a sickness, you should go weak to help cleanse that body, because we have all kinds of stories to tell about this. 3 things affect this, and it's really important: your thoughts, nutrition, and movement or exercise. I say movement because when I say exercise, everybody has a different idea about what exercise be. You need movement. Every thought has a biochemical prescription. As you sit here tonight, you can change the chemistry within your body with just your thoughts. If it's loving, kindness, forgiveness, patience, harmony, your body produces an endorphin or enkephalin. It's a morphine-like substance that kills pain and keeps you on one of those highs all day long, and your body functions. It is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Anytime there's fear or anger, there's a switch zone. Just an analogy. There's a switch zone and your digestive system slows down. Can you function well without nutrition and your digestive system slows down? The blood goes to your extremities for fight or flight. Your heart increases. If you stay angry in life, you start filling up with fluid and you start feeling worse. You destroy your own body. And it's like driving your car with the brakes on. You'll soon wear out the brakes. And a lot of people go through life angry. A lot of people are angry because they have a chemical imbalance within their body and the body is not connecting. One of the first things that's affected by the fluff is mental clarity. You have a brain fog. One of the first things 3 things that people notice when they start this food is mental clarity, more energy, and the skin starts to change. You'll start losing weight right through here, right through the jaws right here. And some people say, I am lost 1 pound, but I'm 2 sizes smaller. You started to rebuild tissue. You start to rebuild back the muscle that you have destroyed because of the wrong eating. And once you get the muscle structure, then it all comes back. We had a lady in Owassa that taught aerobics 4 hours a day. She was heavy and could not lose the weight, and she went to a gynecologist and had 2 ovarian cysts and 4 tumors on her uterus, one the size of a baseball. He had already scoped her uterus. She started the herbs, she started Sunrider, and she passed all of that in 32 days. And he monitored the entire thing. She would have quit had he not been there to monitor because it scared her. And then her uterus was totally white. Now she's dropped from 179 to 129 or 125. Even exercise wouldn't get that off until you cleaned up the inside. And that's what makes this different. If you putting junk in your sugar causes dilation of the capillaries, salt causes dilation, chemicals, preservatives, glutamate, aspartame, aspartate, and they have another product called hydrolyzed vegetable protein. They take vegetables that are not edible and boil them in sulfuric acid, take them out of that and put it in a caustic substance and make a brown sludge, and they put it in almost all frozen foods and soups. That's in Dr. Blaylock's book. He started not to write the book. He said, I'm going to step on so many toes, but he said, I've got to tell the truth. And you can get the book at Barnes & Noble or most bookstores. They'll have to order it from you. It's something most people don't read at night. It's not a real popular bestseller, but it's great information. He said they used to put glutamate in baby food in the 60s, and 1 jar of glutamate can destroy the frontal lobe. It affects the calcium. Your body has to have glutamate, but too much affects the calcium gate. Nutrition, we found, is extremely important. We tried to eat right. Ruby tried to eat right, but we could not get it because you can't get enough. Broccoli can actually cure cancer, but you can't eat enough in a day to get enough nutrition to do it. And once we started this, then Lois' mental clarity came back. She could remember things, and it took her 12 months to cleanse. In fact, it took her 6 years to cleanse the ears. But after 23 years, you can see why. She still had pain in her ears till about 3 months ago, and she's finally got, in fact, when the ears cleared up, her right foot was swollen. I don't know what that, I don't know if your ears attached down there or not, but now that's subsided. So finally, after 7 years, her body is cleansed. It's amazing you can do that at our age too, isn't it? The younger you are, the faster it works. The only guarantee I'll make tonight is you're going to be younger today, no matter where you're starting, than you will be tomorrow. So it started. My mother at 86 started eating the food. She had shingles all the way around her body, had hiatal hernia. She had diverticulitis. She could not get her left foot warm. She couldn't sleep laying down. She was ready to die. She said, I'm ready. She told my brother last summer, she said, my dad's name was Irvin. She said, I'll bet Irvin thinks I'm not a-coming. She's 93 now, and she just flew to Charleston, South Carolina and back, and she just flew to San Francisco, and she's coming back. Then she's going to fly to Utah. We don't eat these herbs to be alive, but if you're alive, live. And that's what I know a lot of people in nursing homes, they're alive, but they're not living. They died at 68, and they bury them at 85. But it's a shame. But nutrition's important, and exercise. You've got to squeeze the sponge. When you walk, your thighs pump almost as much fluid as your heart. You've got to squeeze the muscle. Did you ever wonder what happened to a cell in your toe when it dies, how it gets out of there? Has anybody laid awake at night thinking about that? It's got to be pumped out all the way up through here, through the lymph nodes, and drop back in the blood up here. I gave this presentation in Houston 5 years ago, and there was a Chinese doctor present, and I've had a lot of humbling experience. I've been checked out so many times, it's unreal. And after the meeting's over, he came right up and immediately said, Sunrider works because, is the declaration, it takes the dead blood and dead tissue from your body. And we had a lady that was in a motorcycle wreck 40 years ago. She had extremely bad candida. It cleansed her candida. It actually pushed it through her skin. Her mental clarity was gone. 2 years later, it cleansed the scars in her leg from a motorcycle accident 40 years ago. That oozed out of that. Then it cleansed the scar she had on the back 4 years later. She'd been eating the herb for 7 years, but it didn't take it all at once. It prioritized. It took Dave's growth wherever he had it. The fatty, where was that cyst? On the leg. He took that off first. It did for another person we had. His wife started eating the foods, and her allergies balanced real quick. Not because this is special, because her body balanced. Her husband said, I don't feel a thing, but a growth he had on his back right here disappeared in 2 weeks. That's just accumulation of junk that the body piles up and accumulates and encapsulates because it doesn't know what to do with it. If you put plastic in the soil, it'll still be there 5,000 years from now. If I put wood in the soil, it will break down because the earth knows what to do with it. So the chemicals and the preservatives and so on and so forth, they stay in the fat, and this will help pull it out. Even drugs. We've had people have a lady in Utah that had a heavy drug habit. She said, if you think these are expensive, you should have been buying the drugs I was on. It totally cleansed that residue out of her body, and now she's a healthy person. So squeeze the sponge. Do something to exercise. I read a book written in 1943, and they said to relax the body, you sit down and you squeeze the feet, and you squeeze the calves, and you squeeze the thighs, and you squeeze the tummy, then you squeeze your back. Can you see what they're doing? They're working that garbage all the way up and drop it back in the blood up here. Then you squeeze your arm. And when I taught my last 4 years over Union, every class I had, we did that. I sat on the desk and we'd all squeeze our feet, and they were much better throughout that hour after they moved some of that toxin throughout their body. And that's one way of doing it. But Cali is a cleanser. This is food in, this is food out. This is waste out. If you carry food into your kitchen for 6 months and never take the garbage out, you got a problem. And a lot of people in America, it takes 32 to 72 hours to get meat through your colon. If you'll take a piece of meat and lay it on the back step, and 2 days later go smell of it, that's what happens in your colon. I'm not trying to destroy meat for you at all. You want health, and there's a way to maintain that. If you're going to eat meat, eat small flavor things with it. If you want to cut back, eat chicken and turkey and fish for a while and eat small amounts. Wean yourself. You don't have to stop it at all if you don't want to, but we chose to do that, and life has been much simpler. We have a lot more energy, and we even play badminton every once in a while with our neighbors. They're so much older than we are, though. We beat them pretty easy. But this is Cali. Put it in 1 bag per gallon. Steep it. Male-type bodies can go 1 bag per quart or 1 bag per half a gallon, and find out what it does to your body. If it's not doing anything, strengthen it. If it starts doing something, weaken it. And you'll start pulling the fluff. The third part of this, the organs have to be healthy to maintain health. Your liver has about 500 different jobs to do. If your kidneys don't function, you have a problem real quick. It filters the fluids in your body and balances electrolytes. If you eat too much potassium, it will take it out and balance it. If you eat too much sodium, it'll take it out and balance it. But if you eat sodium chloride, it can't do that. It'll put it back in, you'll start retaining fluids. The Chinese found that different color foods have a different wavelength, a different electromagnetic field. Energy can only flow down. It can flow from high potential to low potential. So some organs need to be warmer or cooler than the others. They found that green foods feed the liver, and that's referred to as the defense. The Chinese call this the defense system. We call it immune system in America. Red foods feed the pituitary gland, the heart, and the small intestine. Pituitary gland is the flight control center in the brain for all your hormonal system. It controls them, and it's important that it's functioning properly. Yellow foods feed the spleen, the pancreas, and the stomach. White foods feed the large intestine, the lungs, and should be the colon. Well, I have the large intestine, the skin, excuse me. The lungs, the large intestine, and the skin is fed by white foods. Black foods feed the kidney and the bladder. If your organs are healthy, your body is healthy, and it just purrs. This is a toolbox. We have no idea what's going on inside of our body to a certain degree. So you eat herbs that feed all 5 organs. On the back of this bottle, there's 48 vegetables in each capsule. Now that's highly condensed. You go to Luby's and buy 3 vegetables for $3.50 and they're overcooked and you probably don't get much. There's 48 vegetables. It's all food in each capsule. They have the different colors combined to feed all 5 organs. So when you eat these, you're feeding all your functions. Now these 48 vegetables will break down into component parts. You can buy a bottle just for the liver, or you can buy a bottle just for Primegan, or a bottle, this is the company name on it. Assimilate feeds the stomach. People with cancer, a suppressed immune system, eat more alpha-20C to bring their immune system up. It's amazing the results a lot of them have had. We had a young lady come into our home, and she had lymphoma. And she had 1 chemotherapy treatment, said, I'll die first before I take another one. She's 34. And someone mentioned our name, and she came over, and her body's totally in remission now. But her dad owned a feedlot in Kansas. He died of a heart attack, and her sister and she both had lymphoma, cancer, from too much meat. But she ate extra alpha, 50 of these extra a day to bring the immune system back up. She said, you can't believe what came out of my body. And we've heard that over and over. People, all that waste and that fluid in there, we've had a lot of people pass worms, we've had tapeworms, candida, look like tapioca pudding. You've got to clean that out before you're going to get your health back. This balances allergies, and this doesn't, but it feeds the body correctly so it comes back into balance. Assimilate feeds the digestive system. Lois ate a lot of extra Assimilate because her digestive system was really in bad shape. She even opened a capsule and made a tea. This is a very sweet herb and really makes a nice tea. There's a group of herbs. It's not just one herb, it's a group, it's synergy. People with asthma choose to eat more of this one, and it's a choice. You just sort of know your body talks to you. If your body's in pain, it's talking to you. If you're hungry, your body's talking to you. If you have no energy, your body's talking to you. They say, balance me out. We had a gentleman that remodeled our home, and he watched us for 2 months. We are so busy, you'll never believe it. You will if you've been over there. And he found out how old we were, and then he finally, the last day, said, what do y'all do that you have all this energy and running all the time? And I showed him, I said, this is a complete meal. He weighed 240, and he said, no way that's going to fill me up. I don't know if it is or not, but we fixed him one, and he called at 8 o'clock and said, I'm still not hungry. This doesn't fill you up. It balances so your body, when it's craving, is missing something. And you keep eating the junk food that doesn't have it in there, and you're always hungry. You'll go to bed at night and eat 2 hamburgers before you go to bed at night, trying to satisfy the body. This satisfies. It nourishes, totally balances, and that's what makes it different. And this balances the organs. And when we started this journey, after we finally called the guy that sent us the food I bought from, we found out it was going to work, I said, how do you know how much to eat? And he said, your body will tell you. And I said, that's a cop-out. I've been around my body all my life and didn't told me anything yet, I didn't think. But it really did. You'll soon know. You'll just say, well, I need more of this one. But most people can just eat the total and just nourish the body. We've had people eat 3 a day. We've had people eat 10 a day. Lois and I eat 30 a day. We've done that for 7 years. That's the way we started out. And she was so ill, we thought the more nutrition, the faster it brings you back. Kimmy and Jana ate 1 a meal. Ruby ate 1 a meal, and 80 years old, and got her body back. They're so concentrated, it's more nutrition than you get from anything else. We've had people live on this 3 months, these 3 basic foods, and say, I've had more energy than I ever had in my life. My friend that weighed 350 when he started this at 28, lost 13 pounds in 2 days. He said, should I go to the doctor? Well, something's wrong. But he'll just go 2 weeks at a time and live on these herbs. He said, it's the best I ever feel. But he said, I've got to eat every once in a while, and he doesn't always eat the right food, but he's down to a mere 270 from 350. And he's getting older, and he's getting smaller instead of getting older, spreading out more, and he was really fluffy. But those are the basic foods. This company is owned by 2 people. Tei-Fu Chen is a pharmacist, and Oilan is an internist. She's a Western MD. They have great knowledge. Tei-Fu Chen they have given him 2 honorary degrees in herbology, one at Beijing University and one in Taiwan. And to receive an honorary doctorate degree in herbology in China is one of the highest compliments that you can have. He has a tremendous knowledge of herbs. He has a tremendous knowledge of the body, and she runs the ship. She's captain of the ship. She runs the show while he works we call him our chef. He's working in the kitchen making more food for us. And she runs the show, and she runs a very tight ship. Doctors are highly disciplined, and the only claim they'll make is this food cleanses and nourishes. That's the only claim. This company will not make claims at all. They said it's food, eat it. Your body is searching for food. It's your health and it's your choice. You choose what you stick in that hole under your nose. And we're so controlled by our taste buds. And I had a hard time for a long time giving up Brahms. I would reward myself once each month with a double sundae. I told Lois one night, I said, I've got to go to the grocery store. I ran down Brahms and got me a hot fudge sundae. And the fudge tastes bitter. And I said, this ain't fair. But I was drinking 23 cups of coffee a day. No symptoms at all when I quit. And you just lose the taste for those things. And it's neat because it will change you if it'll just give you a chance. The important thing is to get it in your body each day. It cannot put it under your pillow. It will not work. You can't set it in your cabinet. It will not work. Just put it in your body. It's pure nutrition, and give it a chance. And that ends my presentation.